We'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, Jim.
Norman,
Here.
Mrs. Claypool. Marvel,
Here.
Bennett,
Here.
Whiteman, here, Ms. Patterson, Ms. Hamlin.
Here.
All right, we have a forum. Any additions or revisions to the agenda? Hearing none. To approval of the May 17th meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the May 17th meeting.
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Under old business, update on Commission Center management.
Good morning.
Morning.
So we are reporting on the month of May. We hosted 14 events, which accounted for 23 total event days. Attendance for the month was a little over 1,100. Total gross revenue was 108,000. Actually, I think it's actually 110,000 since I put this together. So about 110,000 in revenue, and 4,200 of that was parking. This is the list of the events that we had in May. A couple that I just want to point out would be the Swope Museum. Their spring dinner, that was the second time hosting that event. It's a very large event for us. We have the carnation sales taking place downstairs. The Terre Haute Police Department had their retirement dinner, and then we also had the Firefighters Union, which was here. It's usually in Indianapolis, or it's in Indianapolis every other year, and then it kind of rotates around the state every other year outside of Indianapolis. We're hoping to be on that rotation, and speaking with some of those gentlemen from that, they're actually trying to get it to where it's not in Indianapolis every other year, so that would give us more opportunity to have it here a little more often. But they did bring the fire truck in, which was quite a sight to see them bringing it in. It was a little nerve-wracking, but they got it in, they put it on dollies and maneuvered it into the building, and it looked really great sitting in here. So it was a nice spot for it for a week. So had a really good event. Then we did Mother's Day brunch again, second time we did that. We had a really good turnout, some good feedback from attendees while they were here about the event. So that was really good, and it's one that we'll continue to do until we don't have the space to do it. May stats, this just kind of gives you some of the stats of events by type, attendance by type, and gross revenue by type. Conventions brought in the most gross revenue, and then banquets were behind that. And then these are year-to-date stats. So this will just give you the number of events that we've done by event type, same attendance, gross revenue by event type, and then gross revenue by month. So you can see which months have produced the most revenue. Food and beverage, of the events that we did in May, almost $84,000 came just from food and beverage. So food and beverage is really how we make most of the revenue here. We do make revenue off of rental, staging, audiovisual, and things like that. But food and beverage is always going to be the leader, when it comes to our revenue. All but one meeting in May had some sort of food and beverage. So we might get some meetings that might just do pastries and coffee in the morning. But all of them have some kind of food and beverage associated, except for one. We have had a little bit of a freezer issue. This past month, we've had some ice filled up, and we had someone come out and look at that. There is a drain in the freezer that it was installed unlevel. So we're trying to get in touch with Central Restaurants to get them to come out and fix that issue, because basically when it's defrosting in there, water is running to one side and it's freezing. We have a picture of it, being unlevel, and we've been trying to get a hold of Richard. He's not returning our calls, so I'm gonna try to call him again, and I don't know if it's Brian, if it's maybe worth adding you to an email or something to try to get them to respond.
Sure.
It's something that needs to be fixed. We did purchase some new linens. We purchased nude and beige napkins. We used our nude linens for Mother's Day. Everyone loved the colors. It gives us a little bit more of an option, especially when it comes to weddings and dinners and lunches and things like that, just other outside of our regular black and white. We did need to purchase more black linens. A lot of our old linens, they get stained over from event over event, and we'll use them as long as we can, but the ones that they start to look really bad, that you can't hide the stains, we bagged those up and we donated those to the animal shelter. And then we do have a garden plot at ISU Community Gardens. Our Director of Food and Beverage is kind of heading this up. We had several of us have donated some plants for that plot, and so we've got some of our staff that's volunteering. You have to volunteer so many hours to take care of your garden plot, and then what we harvest out of that plot will be donated to charity. So it's not any money that's coming from the facility, but it's just something that staff is organizing as, you know, something that we can do to give back. On the operations front, monthly checks for fire safety checks for the elevators, extinguishers, and pest control is always done at the first of the month. We had BNS come out and check a leak on the second floor women's restroom. We think what's happening is when we get a really big rain, there's a rooftop unit up there that it's running either extra water into the condensation pan, and then it's running down inside. What it's doing is coming down one of the walls in the ladies' restroom. So Garmon had come out quite a while back and patched, you know, from where water had kind of bubbled up on the wall, and they fixed all that and they couldn't find anything up there. And then we've noticed that there's been a little bit more water. So we think it's coming from when we get a heavy rain, and it's maybe coming from one direction and it's just pushing it down a pan or something. So we're continuing to watch that. And then next time we do get a heavy rain that we're in the building, BNS has said, you know, call them and they'll come out and see if they can't see where any water's maybe running through. We recently had a call with CSO about the electrical upgrade in the ballroom and the irrigation. So they were making some changes to the electrical plan so that we can send that out for bids for that ballroom upgrade. And then the irrigation pump, there was too much pressure running through the pump in the mechanical room. So CSO had recommended just taking everything off of that pump and then hooking it to the regular central water and seeing if that would work. So actually BNS was out yesterday and they're testing that. So we're just trying to see if we've got enough water pressure to actually push up the sprinkler heads out on the east side of the garage. So as of yesterday, Brady hadn't seen those pop up yet, but we're working on that. Otherwise, I think we have to potentially downsize that pump that's in there if it needs to run on a pump. For the landscaping, our fabric is going down. So you might have noticed the black fabric as you pulled in, and then Terrascapes is who we'll be using for installing the river rock. They were about $8,000 cheaper than the other quotes we had. It also includes maintenance, and then they'll do the winterization of the irrigation. So we've got them slated for the weekend of the 8th. So hopefully that doesn't get pushed back because we're really ready to get everything all cleaned up. But our team has been out there pulling weeds and trying to get everything all ready to go for them. And then Lenny Brothers replaced 3 trees last month. We had 3 Christmas trees that got waterlogged because of the leaks in the irrigation. And so they pulled those out a while back. And then last month they replaced those trees. So those are in, and then we still have some bushes that need to be replaced out front. I might just send one of the guys to Lowe's though, because we've been waiting for a while to just go ahead and buy the other bushes to put in there. And then maybe we can send them a bill. For sales and marketing, during the month of May, sales team contracted 15 events totaling $50,000. 3 of these events were in the month business, and the rest is for the remainder of the year. They currently have 56 tentative leads and repeat business for 2023, which totals $439,000. And it's about almost 1,900 estimated hotel room nights. We've got 12 contracts that are still out, waiting for those to come back, which is almost 50,000 in revenue with an estimated 105 hotel room nights. And then we recently hired our second sales manager position. That was Jennifer Wright, and she started on June 12th. So right now we have 2 new sales managers, and they're pretty much going through a lot of training, but they're already making sales calls, which is really great. So this just shows I'm sorry.
Good hire.
Yeah, okay, good. They've been really good. So we've got Sarah and Jennifer now. They really seem like go-getters. Site tours, just a list of some of the site tours that we had this past month, and then some of our community involvement, and then our promotions and advertising. We had a couple of whole sponsorships, with the chamber and the sheriff's shootout. And when we do the whole sponsorships, we send our sales team out to go sit on the whole. And we did the commissioners, event as well. But we like to go out and be on the whole, so that way when the teams are coming up, we can play games and talk with them and be able to talk to them about what business they host. Do they do holiday parties and things like that? So it's not just an opportunity to get our name out, but to actually start building those relationships. Our Mother's Day brunch, was really good this year. We had a goal of selling 300 tickets. Last year we did about 130 tickets. And this year we were almost at 400. I think we ended at like 378. So we were 70% up from last year. So it was a really nice event. We made changes from the last year, and we did everything based on time slots. So we had everything planned out. So we knew what parties were coming at what time. We actually called all of our guests the week before to make sure we knew exactly who was coming, how many people, if they needed a high chair, things like that. So that way we were really prepared for them. So it went really smooth. We were pretty happy with it. We had Pam had a radio interview on Mix FM to promote Mother's Day, right before the event. And we actually ended up promoting holiday parties where Mother's Day is done, you know, like almost, that was like 3 weeks out from the event. We had already sold all the tickets we needed. So we kind of changed our messaging and we're like, yes, we're doing Mother's Day, but let's talk about all these other things now. So we could move forward because we had such success there. And then this is just some of our Facebook posts that we've done for the past month, some things from the Firemen's Conference, the chamber outing, some of the fun things that we've done internally, and our blood drive that we try to promote. And then website, next page is just website analytics, just some of our stats that we see, that we look at monthly. As far as numbers, indefinite contracts, what we have right now through the end of the year, we've got 33 contracts, which total $301,000. We've got 10 contracts out for this year, 16 proposals that are still out for this year. And then looking at 2024, these numbers are starting to build because now we're going to start, our sales team will start shifting their focus and trying to close the business for 2024 so that we can start a new year with more in the funnel. So if you look at what they have in tentative business, they've got over 300,000 in tentative business. Ideally, all of this business will be closed before the end of the year. 2025, we've got a couple tentative bids that are out there right now, but I feel like this building is probably right now is going to be more of like a 12 to 18 month book, you know, unless we can get the bigger business that's going to bring more hotel room nights, which we'll book further out. But right now, I think about 18 months is about typically where we're finding most folks are feeling comfortable in booking out. The total funnel is almost 800,000 as of right now. And that'd be it. Any questions?
Any questions for Neil? Father's Day.
So last year we tried to do a Father's Day dinner, like we started marketing it and we had no bites from it, so we pulled it. We spent a couple $100 in marketing it and putting it out in social media and that, and I don't know that dads want to go out to eat for Father's Day.
I'd rather go golfing.
Anything else for Neil? All right, thank you. All right, Jason.
I believe Kyle sent out the last, or I guess it's maybe yesterday, day before, kind of an updated cash flow schedule. Something different that's on this report that you may not have seen before is from what we talked about last month. We did have, if you look at second line from the bottom, available for capital expenses, we do have a line item for that now. Previously, we were kind of putting an amount each month based upon projections, and then if we didn't have it, it just kind of fell off. Here, you can see like the end of May, for example, the ending cash balance was $3.9 million. But if you subtract out the amount that we've set aside for capital expenses that we talked about last month, the $264,000, that would give you available cash of $3.6 million. So as you start incurring those expenses and paying for those, we'll include that up above in the disbursements and then reduce the amount that's available for capital expenses. So this way it kind of gives you a true appreciation of really how much you have available for expenses as they come forward. And then we've taken the projections for operating account transfers, revenue projections, and then carried that through the end of 2024. You see that on page 3. So as you start looking into next year's budget, you can see what available cash you have. And we actually go all the way out to January 2025 because you typically make your bond payment either December or January. So we went out to January to make sure you can cover your bond payment and kind of give a true appreciation of what you have available.
I think, thank you, Jason. I think one of the ways when I look at this report, when we're looking at a projection, if you pick a month, say December of this year, and you look at December of next year, where is that ending cash available? So you can see that trend. Are we trending in the right direction? Is that available cash growing or declining? And so, you know, I think that's how Jason and I and the rest of the finance committee really looks at that as we go throughout the years to make sure that we're on the right path.
Can I ask a question? Aaron? Is there and this may all be in the works, is there a capital expenditure projection someplace?
Yes.
Like
Janelle's
couple
over
years
there.
or 5 years or whatever it is?
Yeah, we've got a 15-year plan that I can email
Great.
it to you. I mean, if we want to.
So as the finance committee was asking.
Okay,
if it
yes.
said that- I guess I wouldn't mind saying it.
Yeah,
We had that before we did the budget.
Perfect.
Need to probably put together a budget for submission to the county council. Every start, I wouldn't anticipate starting working on it before the end of July. We'll need that.
So what we scheduled previously, we like to live by it, but the board had designated July 26th.
Yeah.
A special agenda item as the draft, reviewing the draft of the CIB operating budget. And then on August 23rd, adopting it, if that, and sending it to the council, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I could, if, the budget committee will be, they haven't set dates for all this yet, or their meetings, but submit the draft to them as a.
Yeah, that'd be-
Looking like do.
Since you moved your meeting date to the 4th, Wednesday from the 3rd, that might have changed the timing.
Wouldn't worry a lot.
Janelle's already sent out a
Okay,
proposed
great.
draft of the budget.
I sent it to just the finance committee for them to go through it first, and then if you want to have a call to talk through any of it, you know, let us know. I figured you guys could probably send it out to the rest of the committee whenever, or the rest of the board, whenever you guys are ready.
We haven't, we've just received it. We haven't met to discuss it yet. We could do that in the next week.
It took me about 5 minutes last year for the council budget committee. I mean, it was pretty simple, so shouldn't be a big deal.
And with that, just like I always kind of report on the revenues, collections, as you're looking at your budget. You know, last year you collected a little over $3,050,000 for the year. Right now, based upon the first 6 months, we're about 12% above last year's collections. So for the first 6 months last year, we collected about $1,450,000. This year, we collected $1,630,000. So as you're looking at your budget, you know, if you're thinking about trying to budget everything so you don't have to go back for additional appropriations, you might want to assume a 15-20% increase in your revenue from last year, just begin to budget high.
Okay. So Brian, did I hear you say that, we would target our August meeting for us to approve it and get it to the council?
That's what you had on your schedule, but
Okay.
again, that went out a week.
Uh-huh,
So what we currently currently have, and you can always change it, was in July, the presentation of the draft. It was like 26th of July. For review, kind of, I suppose you can approve it then too, if it's been worked over so well. And then August 23rd being adoption, but that may not go in with the council's
Okay,
timing now, since we moved the meeting date.
okay.
I think we would be,
You're ready in July to,
Yes.
yeah, okay, I get it. That sounds good to me.
To adopt,
yes.
okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good plan. Okay,
Jason.
yeah.
Neil,
Yeah.
just making sure before I speak on behalf of the group, you're good with that as well?
And was the draft that Neil put together, not just for the convention center, but for all CIB expenditures, or is that something separate?
It was just convention center.
Hers was just
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll have that on top of the convention center.
That's fine. That's-
Okay, all right, any questions of Jason? Financial questions in general? Okay, thank you. All righty, Larry Bird Museum update.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. Terry and I, have been inundated with emails about fire extinguishers.
That's it.
Anyway, we feel good about the 4 companies that, we contracted to help us, get the convention center museum, Larry Bird Museum open. They're staying within our budget and within the timeline that we've set for paying attention to, while paying attention to their work quality and the detail. The exhibit fabrication purchases and labor during June of 23, made a 25% deposit on the artifact display cases. Those have been ordered, 50% deposit on the themed ring. And that's the ring that goes from the ceiling as you come into the doors. A 50% deposit for acoustic graphic murals that will obviously go on the walls. And, they catch the past interactive, for the kids, and actually it's for everyone, I guess, to see how well they catch the pass. That's been purchased. About 30% of the drafting has been completed for all of this. We were notified at the meeting yesterday on the Zoom meeting that the jump to reach how high you could reach is so expensive with the LED lights that we're not going to do it. They did come up with, did you see this yesterday?
So the last page of the handout.
Yeah, last page of your handout. This to me is probably a better way to do it. It's longer lasting. Kids will jump up and see how high they can catch the basketballs or touch the basketballs. So we're going to have some things like the museum across the street has, but obviously there will be a Larry Bird theme involved in all of it. Speaking of Larry Bird, do you want to talk about?
Yes. So John and I met with Greg and, we arranged for the, Ravenswood and the production company to have a call. Shelley was part of that as well, where we went through every single artifact, memorabilia that we have and are putting together those stories. Anything that Greg, wasn't 100% sure with, he's going to arrange with Larry Bird to understand if, if this, what memory does he have from this particular game? Okay, so it's going to be very interactive. a lot of information that, we believe that people will, be interested in and seeing that. So that's moving along as well. We have, the company out of Indianapolis that is doing the equipment, for instance, the television screens, they're coming on site this week. We're just making sure that the lighting within the museum, will be the best lighting given the amount of windows that we have. And so they're going to give us a presentation and test all of that, obviously, before anything's ordered. Let's see, what else? But there's so many moving parts. But again, all of that is happening, so then we can hopefully stay on this timeline.
We meet, like I said earlier, regularly, and it's mandatory that all of these companies that we've contracted with be on the Zoom call and tell us what they've done and what their plans are to do the next week. So, and so far that's worked out real well. Dave Patterson called me day before yesterday. He had received a call from a fellow by the name of Dave Pateson. And I don't think Mr. Pateson has any relatives with the Pateson heating and roofing and all that, but he said that he went to ISU at the same time Larry did. And because he was one of the first to get yearly tickets, he had a front row seat. And he took 8mm shots of the whole game. Every game that was played here, he has an 8mm recording of it. It's he just signed off on a paper that will allow us to use it with no charge. He would like a mention, someplace there in the museum that belongs to him. But Boston Productions are going to see if they can preserve it in a way, and maybe even change it to a system where it will update it from 8mm to whatever they're using nowadays. But that happened, like Terry says, there are moving parts that happen all the time. So that's right. And even if they don't, if there's some way to preserve that 8mm and it's grainy, I think that will lend some credence or to what we're trying to do there, show Larry back in the old days. That's about all I have.
Shelley, do you want to give an update on? You've been busy, so.
In order to kind of help streamline it to where, as we're going through to get the stories for each individual piece that's going in there, I had created catalogs that are based off of like the actual genre of each individual item. So there's now 8 mini catalogs that contain like the trophies, the uniforms, jewelry, anything like that. And it has each one of them photographed, but also has their location lit up. But then I had also created an actual master catalog that has all of them in there, and that's like 50 pages at this point, which once we get all of the stories for each individual item, those stories will then be uploaded individually with each one of those items in the catalog also, so that way it's an easier way of keeping track of everything, of what we have, where it's at, why we have it, and the story behind it.
I think having the on-site meeting with Greg here really has inspired Greg to, man, we gotta get this going. I thought really 30 to 45 minutes would be the most that we would get out of him, and what you're having, 2 hours?
2 hours, 8 minutes.
Yeah, it's a little over 2 hours.
I think we were all.
And there are a lot of things that he told us ahead of time. I don't remember any significant stories that would go along with those, but On some of those, he's going to ask Larry if he remembers anything about it, or if he can add anything to it, so we're excited about it, and
I wanted to say Boston Productions, who's kind of putting together the storylines and the script, were they saying that there's other people that played with Bird that have come out too and are wanting to just provide additional, information about specific games or how they remember those as well. So it is definitely bringing in a lot of excitement. We believe this will be a tourist attraction for sure.
Bob Eaton's going to probably talk to as well. So, any questions?
Okay, good update. Thank you. Update on legal matters, Brian.
Thank you, Mayor. Do a couple completion items and then I'll maybe say a few things about the museum status as well, because that's where a lot of my time is being spent right now. First of all, hallelujah, praise the Lord. The easement and parking easement situation has all been finalized. They've been recorded. I've circulated them to the record keepers, and that episode is behind us. Thank you, Brian Koistra, for your assistance in making that happen. We've been working with Shelley on some local rights acquisition, trying to get that wrapped up. And then a couple of you have inquired about Shelley's contract, which expired in May, has been extended through August 15th. And then I suspect we'll come back to the mayor with another extension request, because her work now has hit a stride. It was kind of spinning there early because of access. Now, with the information she's providing is pretty critical. I really want to report that all of your consultants, from my opinion, because I participated in the meetings, all of your museum consultants are working very well. There was always some little bit of frustration with our early consultants, both the design team and the owner's representative. They're operating now. They finally hit the spot where they are giving, I believe, good direction to your contractors. They're taking the lead on some things where they didn't in the past. A little bit of that has been the pushing by the three of us to get Mark in a position to try to take leadership. Mark Madursky, I feel like he is. We've worked through because this is so different than just like building the building. We've had to kind of negotiate and work through a change order process, because these design folks aren't used to working in a construction type environment. And this is production and a little bit of acquisition and production also. So the first change order has come through, and it's been going to be circulated back. I want to talk about the process for that. And that is for $19,000 and some odd dollars, $19,000+ for changes in the cabinetry, to provide for alarms and a more solid backing in the back of the cabinets. That was approved by Terry and Jim, and they consulted the mayor on it. To refresh your memory, if the sum of all change orders on the $865,000 contract is less than 20%, the committee, which is essentially Terry and John, can approve that. If it's going to take it above 20%, your but motion last time said the mayor had to, as the chair, had to do it upon recommendation of these two. So I do have one question for you on the signing of change orders, which is probably going to start, the first one probably today. We want that to be the mayor as the chair to sign those change orders that have been approved. Do we want John as the committee chair to sign those change orders that are below 20% of the total? And that's entirely up to you all, but I'd like a little direction on that so we can say we've discussed it and get the right signature.
John's the chair of the committee, so I'm perfectly fine with John signing those change orders. Because we discussed them at length.
Yeah.
Before we approve them. It's just a sign. So.
You have that,
Are you
right?
guys, you're okay with that? Yeah, I'm too, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Okay, very good.
And I try to run it. I'll try to run it.
Yeah, you keep me in the loop, so I
Sure.
know, but no, that's fine. We want to keep things moving.
Yeah, we're trying to limit the email paperwork. I mean, I probably did 12 or 15 yesterday on just this change order, trying to get Ravenswood and Pilferty on the same page and agreeing on a document. Now that'll be automatic, but so I do copy you too on some things, not everything. I apologize for missing one that I talked to you about yesterday, Terry. But I also don't want to fill your email boxes with, you know, updates that, yeah, with fire extinguisher matters. And I'm going to talk about recent legislation, but before that, I want to not forget my things to do list. The board hasn't taken any further action on the Terre Haute Theater matter. We're prepared for that when it's time. We want to treat that like an acquisition, not a contribution, to protect you all from unknown sources in that ancient facility. So when you give the green light, we'll start that rolling on hold for the mayor until we hear otherwise. Second item on my things to do list, our things to do list, is the performance incentive for 360, OB 360.
OPG,
OB, yeah, okay.
close enough.
Spectrum entertainment, DBA Spectrum entertainment. So as you know, at the end of this year, they will, your manager will have the opportunity for 2 incentives. He had the opportunity for 1 this last year, and that is a satisfaction incentive, which I think is capped at $25,000. And then there's a performance incentive, and we need to have a kind of projected, here's what the normal outcome would be for a year, and then if they shoot over that, they get some percentage of the receipts over that. I think it's 20%, but I have to look at the contract. So at some point, we need to establish that. Probably the finance committee needs to make a recommendation to the big board, and Timmy and I'll start noodling on that a little bit to get something to the finance committee to think about, and of course include Jason too, so that we have that covered. Okay, there was a piece of legislation that is impactful on the CIB this year, and we're still learning some more about it and trying to get some background. It was House Bill 1454. As most of you know, maybe not, some of you know, there's been a long-held animosity to the food and beverage tax by all food and beverage taxes, by some members of the General Assembly. I was in a position where I could stave some of that off in the past because I think it's a very important and appropriate local financing mechanism for, especially for economic development and tourism. But there are some folks that just don't like it, and every year they try to do some repeal on it. They did not repeal it this last year, but they did regulate it. So House Bill 1454 requires, beginning next May, some fairly extensive, some fairly extensive reporting on each and every expenditure of food and beverage tax, including the recipient, the purpose, and we don't know yet because the State Board of Accounts is going to put out forms, but it may be every expenditure. And of course, every expenditure made by the Capital Improvement Board is made from food and beverage tax. So
You report it to the Board of Accounts.
the State Board of Accounts, yeah,
It sounds similar to what they do with 911 funds.
Probably.
You send them every
everybody.
receipt, every document, everything,
Yeah.
and then they tell us which ones aren't eligible.
Right. Well, Jason and I'll
After.
sort through this and make some recommendations to you all. We haven't, it's not a today thing, it's a next year thing. But I think we have to, I have to double check the bill, but I think next March or May, you report on this year's expenditures. So I mean, it's line by line. The other item here is they sunsetted almost every food and beverage tax. In 2045, they go away. Or if you have bonds outstanding that are secured by food and beverage tax, when those bonds are paid later of the two. Now, I'll refresh your memory that your bonds are not paid by food and beverage tax. They're paid from other sources. Okay, they're general obligation bonds of the county with contributions from others. It's anticipated that it will be paid from food and beverage tax sources, but they're not food and beverage tax bonds. Okay, they're county general recreation funds. So oddly, and this is the part we haven't been able to sort out yet, we're doing a little background on it. There were 4 counties that were exempt from this sunset: Marion, Allen, Knox, and drumroll please, Vigo County. So I'm just informing you of this because I suspect there will be a push to sunset everybody. And we'll talk to your local guys to see if they were involved in making that happen or if it was happenstance. We had made some outreach on the food and beverage tax because of the interpretation that's what you pay for. So there was some knowledge in the speaker's office that we were interested in maintaining this in a positive way. So we'll find out, let you know. So that's just for the future, and I wanted to have it on your radar screen. That's it.
So was there, just a quick question, I mean, you could bond out still into the future here and extend that, I mean, once again.
They closed that loophole.
They
They
did,
closed that loophole
Okay.
because it's only bonds that were outstanding on March 7, 2023.
okay,
So when they did something similar with redevelopment commissions, we helped redevelopment commissions all over the state issue bonds, you know, on the lat.
just
Very close to
extend it out.
the date because it was a year later.
So they,
So they took that one away. by
Gotcha.
making it
Okay,
effective
just
date.
wondered.
But could they issue bonds as long as the bonds have to mature before 2045?
Yes.
just
Yeah,
can't do that, so, okay, all right, just wondered.
yes, yeah,
So I got to be at the state house when they were discussing it,
okay,
and, Vigo County was the shining house on the hill. I mean, they really used our food and beverage tax as an example of how communities should move forward with participating in that type of funding mechanism. And, Senator Houston talked really well about Vigo County and how we're using our tax to benefit. I mean, it was awesome, so.
we'll look no further, there's the answer right there, so glad you were there for that.
Well, and I think just to expand on that, even with TIF districts, I mean, it's like there's a few people out there that do something they shouldn't do. And then make it difficult for the rest of us when we're playing by the intent. And so we're gonna continue to do it by. We're supposed to do it, so
The
that's good.
biggest complainers of food and beverage were rival counties. I would just be honest.
There was one notable person who's no longer in the General Assembly, and then his mentee that is now the Senate Finance Chair has a similar concern with it.
So we'll just continue to work on that and tell our good story and.
And one other thing, Mayor, the 2 pieces of paper that you had before you is probably more information than you wanted. But we have asked, yesterday, we asked Ravenswood to start preparing a late report. That's what it's little 1 pager with the highlights on it as part of the change order approval process for Bill Ortiz review. And then Terry mentioned the meetings, the weekly meetings. The other longer document here were the minutes, the agenda with notes on the minutes that was prepared by, I think that's also of Ravenswood, that kind of gives an update on everything. So if you want that to be printed off for each meeting, we'll do it. If you don't want to worry about it, and let the committee worry about it, we won't bring it to the full board as well.
I guess my preference would be just to email it to us before the meeting and we'll have it, read it or not read it, you know.
Would have done that if I'd gotten these fast enough.
Yeah.
So that's what we'll do there.
But we just asked yesterday.
I would suggest that we ask the action.
This is good though, I mean, it's good info. But you don't have to print them out. Bring
Okay,
it, just like the email would be great.
That's what we'll do.
Okay, any questions, Brian, legal matters, any other related to that? All right, new business, change order approval for museum project.
We kind of talked about that already. We'll let John sign it. I just wanted to have it on there so we didn't forget about it.
That's what I thought, okay, very good, that's easy. All right, other business, questions or comments from the CIB members? Anyone have anything? I would just say that we still plan on next month having our presentation, from the folks regarding the athletic complex. Water facility, we pushed that out a little bit, in order to give them more time to deliver a more quality product, if you will. Those meetings continue, regular phone calls and work they're doing, so I think you'll be impressed with it. But we needed to give them a little bit more time, so the goal will be we'll probably have a pretty big meeting in July, because that'll be a big presentation. But that's the track we're on right now. I think we're good with that. Anybody else have anything? Doesn't sound like it. You have nothing, Chris?
You wanna talk about the theater? We've been working on the theater.
So I guess a couple things, we completed the inspection, which I sent all of you a copy of that inspection report. The phase one environmental was completed last week, except for an asbestos test they need to do. They found a little bit of asbestos in there, but no big deal. They're gonna come back and do that. And then I will share that report with all of you. The city paid for that report. And we're working on, we just looking at a lease agreement, reviewing that between Greg and Mr. Barnard. So I would hope that in the next couple of weeks, we can get things in place here to be able to do this pretty quickly. But I wanted to do that background work first before we brought everything here that we've done our due diligence.
We get that from, is that in your, those
Yes.
items, because we'll put it all together. and train.
Yeah, so I think we're getting really close here, to be able to bring in to act on that.
Contact Renee,
We're just a little bit behind, yeah.
contact Renee, okay.
I've got it myself, but you just tell her that we need it.
Sure.
So we're hoping to get something done by this meeting, but it just, you know how things just don't move as fast as you want them to, but I think we're getting in a really good spot here now. That very quickly, we should be able to make that a reality. So I guess at this point, that's why now. Anybody else have anything?
The next meeting, I have it scheduled down in the ballroom, so that we can put more chairs in there,
Yeah,
since the people have.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that'll be July 26th, 9 o'clock. And that's it, and we will adjourn, so kind of a motion for adjourn. So move. A second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, very good, thank you, everybody.